Diversity at Work. Welcome to this module on diversity at work. By the end, you will know about the laws and regulations that help make workplaces inclusive, safe environments for everyone. You will be able to explain what discrimination, harassment, bullying and victimization are, and know how to respond to these if you encounter them. Let's start by looking at discrimination. A diverse workforce is one where people come from a wide variety of backgrounds with a broad range of experience in life. Bringing in people with different backgrounds and perspectives can lead to better decision making, greater innovation, and higher engagement in the workplace. It can mean people of different ethnicities, sexual orientations, socio-economic statuses, ages, genders, religions, and other ways in which humans innately differ. It can also simply mean people who have different personalities and will approach situations differently. Sometimes, differences like these can lead to discrimination. These characteristics are protected from discrimination under law. Anti-discrimination law. 4 federal laws are invoked under the Fair Work Act 2009. These are laws of discrimination in age, disability, racial, and sex. There are 3 laws related to discrimination. The Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities means that government and public bodies must consider human rights when making laws and providing services. The Racial and Religious Tolerance Act makes it against the law to vilify people because of their race or religion. Vilification is abusively disparaging speech or writing. The Equal Opportunity Act makes it against the law to discriminate against people on the basis of a number of different personal characteristics. When an employee experiences discrimination or retaliation at work, it often takes the form of significant action, such as termination, demotion, or suspension, all of which clearly represent an adverse employment action under relevant anti-discrimination and retaliation laws. Adverse action means doing, threatening, or organizing any of the following things: firing an employee, injuring the employee in the employment, such as refusing to provide legal entitlements such as pay or leave, changing an employment job to their disadvantage, treating an employee differently than others, not hiring someone, offering a potential employee different and unfair terms and conditions for the job compared to other employees. Types of discrimination. Discrimination can be direct or indirect. Direct discrimination occurs when you are treated worse than another person or other people because you have a protected characteristic. Someone thinks that you have that protected characteristic, known as discrimination by perception. You are connected to someone with that protected characteristic, known as discrimination by association. Indirect discrimination happens when there is a policy that applies in the same way for everybody but disadvantages a group of people who you share a protected characteristic, and you are disadvantaged as a part of this group. If this happens, the person or organization applying the policy must show that there is a good reason for it. Types of discrimination. Harassment and bullying. Harassment is repeated, unwelcome behavior that the person receiving the behavior considers offensive, intimidating, humiliating, threatening, and that a reasonable person would also find problematic. Harassment is a form of discrimination because it is based on a protected attribute or personal characteristic. Workplace bullying happens when someone behaves unreasonably towards another person or group of people repeatedly in a way that jeopardizes the health and safety of people at work, including mental health. Bullying isn't necessarily based on a protected attribute or personal characteristic, but when it is, bullying is also a form of discrimination. Bullying is a serious workplace health and safety issue. In Australia, unlawful harassment is dealt with under anti-discrimination law rather than through a specific harassment legislation. Sexual harassment. Sexual harassment can take different forms. It is not always obvious. Sometimes it can be indirect. It can also be physical or verbal. And unlike harassment and bullying, Sexual harassment can be a one-off incident. Sexual harassment can be perpetrated by people of the same sex or gender or the opposite sex or gender against people of the same sex or gender or the opposite sex or gender. That might seem a little complex, but remember that physical sex characteristics do not determine gender identity or sexual orientation. Sex, gender identity and sexual orientation are all protected under anti-discrimination laws. Types of discrimination. Victimization. Victimization is when someone treats you badly or subjects you to a detriment because you complain about discrimination or help someone who has been the victim of discrimination. Victimizing behavior might include bullying by colleagues or managers, denial of access to promotion, demotion or reassignment of duties, not being given shifts. People can be worried about making a complaint because they fear that they will be victimized. At Chandler Personnel, any complaints made about your experience at work will be taken seriously and you will be supported in resolving any issue that arises. Responding to diversity issues. Responding to diversity issues. If you think you have been discriminated against because of a protected attribute, harassed, bullied or victimized at work, you must alert your consultant immediately because it is important to get advice as soon as possible after an issue occurs. Duty of care under the Victorian Occupational Health and Safety Act 2004. You have a duty of care in your workplace to health and safety. This includes the emotional and mental health and well-being of yourself and your colleagues. If you witness discrimination, harassment, sexual harassment, bullying or victimization in your workplace, you must speak up. If you can't intervene in a situation immediately, alert your supervisor or another person in a senior position, or if necessary, call the police. If you experience any of these whilst working for Chandler Personnel, you must alert your consultant immediately.